So first off, we will always start on Great Plains. So first map is Great Plains. The civilizations, we do have Germans on Zivieria and Germans on Naheulbeuk. We also do have Japan on LongusDongus. LongusDongus just likes Japan. I think I say that every game when someone picks Japan, that Japan is not a top tier pick. But they don't care. So yeah, right from the start, we will see just I would say not optimal build always. You usually only want one building houses and two building barracks and stuff. But then again, he also now just sends the settler wagons first, so he might actually still be fine. But you could have an army a bit faster if you use two villagers to build stuff. Then also with Japan, I'm not a big fan of doing shrines on hunts, just because they tend to get sniped, or this guy tends to get sniped and then you won't get any eco for a long period of time, so I usually don't think it's worth the risk. And so I usually don't do that. Longus Smurfs. Okay. Yeah, Ajiv, I might call him that. Or I just call him Zivieria's Dong or something. Maybe the other one, Portuguese. So Naheulbeuk, big Ajiv picked Portuguese. I think Ajiv, he probably played Portuguese for a lot in Deathmatch, so it's just his favorite civilization. Even though it's, in my opinion, not one of the top tier ones. But it's decent and you can definitely win. So I see the point. Yeah, so let's just get into the action because the action actually started. So both sides are playing pretty passively at the start, so no forward bases or something going up. We see walls going up everywhere. We see in-house bases. I don't think these bases are enough, so you want... Oh, maybe now they are enough, but I'm not a big fan of the placement of these. Now we slowly see the forward bases going up, and the push starts. So LongusDongus and Zivieria going for or grouping up. I think that's a great decision usually. This means that when you're grouped up, you're just forcing the enemy also to group up, because two armies versus one just beat the one army. Also just some random stuff going here. So Cazadores melee combat against Ashigaris, that's not something you see every day. Also some Ulan raids starting. Did some raids start here? Nope, nothing yet. Yeah, so the push starts here. I think on paper for the civilizations, I would rate them on a similar skill level. So Naheulbeuk and Ajiv against Zivieria and LongusDongus. And I think that Naheul and Ajiv have the better civilization. So I expect them to win this game. Yeah, but fight starts. We have a lot of artillery for Team Zivieria. So a lot of caverns. We have some heavy cannons shipped now. We do have mortars already. Japanese mortars are a great unit. They're just a great unit. Have a lot of range. Very cost effective. Yeah, and I think something which holds Japan back a lot in deathmatch is that they don't have good anti-artillery. So their flaming arrows really are not good. I mean, you can use the Yabusame, they are decent. But I think if they would just have caverns, they would just be better. So if you can group up the artillery with your teammate, then that's usually a good idea. Yeah, this is something... Yeah, I think they have to go back now. This is just way too much flaming arrows. And way too much artillery. So some raids going on here. I think they are dealt with. That was a stable, right? No factory or something. Did he lose a factory already? We have something going on the sides. So bases up, bases going up everywhere basically. Finally they're getting cleaned up, and I think this is a huge deal. So these flaming arrows, they are very, very expensive, and you cannot afford to lose like 15 flaming arrows. So that's not something you want to do. And yeah, so yeah, but other than that, the economy is going up, bases going up. Ajiv or Naheulbeuk. I'm also doing some side bases. And this is what I mean. Usually, if you do the shrines in the middle, what always happens is that they are just not up ever. So I think it's usually just better to put them in your base and then eventually get some livestock, especially in team games. Yeah. So, but the push here kind of stopped. I think the Ulans just cleaned up all the artillery, and yeah, so the skirmishers are free to kill whatever they have. I mean, there's still some heavy cannons, so, and they also have some towers set up here, so really they cannot push. They need some mortars to really push this here. But from my point of view, if they just get into late game, Japanese just doesn't scale well in deathmatch. So I think they should be fine. They should just stop taking this trade. I think they are, yeah, they're busy dealing with the raids here. A lot of stuff going on. Hadamato samurais cleaning up the bases here. We have some Sohais actually doing stuff here. So yeah, no wonder that they are busy with the micro here. But yeah, I think they also need some towers here, just so they have something to fall back to. And this army is really only artillery, so if they would get 5 cavalries, then this push stops here, I think. Yeah. So no factory sniped yet, so it probably was a stable earlier. The goons, I think in deathmatch you can maybe justify to go more aggressive with the goons to kill a daimyo or a shogun, just because you cannot replace him. That means that even if you take a bad trade, once you've dealt with him, he will never come back, and that's something which is usually worth it. But against these Sohai, maybe just waiting for a bit more units would have been worth it. Oh, something going on here. Attempt to snipe the factories of Zivieria by Naheulbeuk. Yeah, but not successful. Finally, they are starting to clean up here a little bit. Also, they are not. Let's see the resources actually. So Zivieria's economy is decent. The boom is there, I think. He still has some resources in the bank. He's got 200 population, so very healthy. Ajiv's economy is here, but he's currently out of resources, so sacrificing the dragoons here really didn't help him in the long run, I think, or for the moment. LongusDongus, just Japan is completely broke too, and Naheulbeuk is a bit more broke than Zivieria, so that might be an issue actually. And because Zivieria still has full population. Oh, but I mean 4 cavalries pop. And if he can, realistically, he only needs to snipe, I think, the horse artillery. Oh no, but it's a very bad spot for cavalries, just in general. Yeah. Also, the issue is for Zivieria is that he doesn't have enough anti-cav, so not enough war wagons and stuff. So the Ulans really can clean up all the caverns here. I really think that Zivieria or that Naheulbeuk should have kept two caverns alive, so just that he can deal with the artillery. That would have been great if he would be able to do that. Yeah, still some raids going on here. So action still on all sides of the map. He's still pushing here actually. So Zivieria, I think his economy is better and he has more resources, so he might actually be able to finish Naheulbeuk. But it's also really hard to push the towers here. Oh no, that's a very bad coverage. Just quickly check here. But I think that Ajiv should be able to clean up the Japanese player now. And now this is what I've been telling all game, is that Japanese are just not good in deathmatch. It's just... We can see why now, because they run out of resources. And then they really don't have much going on for them anymore. Also, LongusDongus only... Oh no, he has 3 DCs, but he's not using them. So he's really broke, so... I think Ajiv should be helping... Oh, I should probably do the text. Wait, sorry guys. Yeah, Ajiv, I think Ajiv should be able to help your teammates soon. I mean, he might get over eager. I don't know where did he get all these Naginatas. So maybe he sent them cards. These are actually an issue, I think. I mean, he still has some anti-cav, so they might actually not be that deadly. Losing the coverance, not something you want. And yeah, I think he was busy helping Naheul, so that's why that happened here. Yeah, I mean, against Naginata you can really, or against this army, you can only just make Hussars and they will just clean it up. Because Hussars are good versus Nagis, and they are also decent, of course, against Yumi archers. So he really can just do that. Yeah, but he's also helping his teammate now. Did he lose a factory already? Naheul, did he lose a factory? Doesn't seem like we have them anymore. Did he build them in the front or what happened? The factories. Or am I not seeing them? I think he lost them. And that's a big move. But other than that, he kind of stabilized a bit. But his economy really is not great. So that's not very good. So long term, I think Zivieria is just in a better position. It's just in a way healthier spot. So yeah, so I think also they should slowly start to mix in some natives now. No one is really using them. I think Zivieria should have the economy to do it soon. And yeah, that's what he probably should do. LongusDongus is now getting completely cleaned up, I think. He's saying he's good. I don't think he's good. From what I've seen here. I mean, he's not, of course he's not dying, but I wouldn't call this a good position. Oh yeah, this is... Yeah, just Zivieria just taking slightly better trades while being ahead on economy, so... Yeah. How is Ajiv's economy now? So Ajiv fully boomed now. He also does have... Oh, I think that's a bit much TCs if you ask me, so... 8 TCs and medicine. It's a bit crazy. I don't think you can afford that. If you ask me. I would rather have some military card maybe instead of this one. or some infantry. This used to be an H4 card, right? Whatever. See, no. No, but I think his deck is pretty late game, all things considered. So HF should be fine in the long run. Let's look at least compared to LongusDongus deck. So LongusDongus doesn't have too many late game cards. He has a lot of unit cards, which I think powered him through for a long time here. So they really helped him, but they really run out of, or he should run out of steam soon. Also, I would rather use the other wood card just because it's 2 wood cards usually. So I prefer it over the one-time wood card. Other than that, this deck looks okay, I think. Maybe the what is the Consulate H1 card called? I forgot it. I usually also use this just because you get out units faster. But yeah, Japan is still holding on actually, so he's still being annoying, still doing some pressure. Yeah, I think. Yeah, but it's really not too threatening. Oh, some raids going on here. And Naheul really also still being active on the map. Did he get the factories? No. Transitioning now happening to price patties. LongusDongus economy slowly kicking in. I think Japan eco never can keep up with German eco or Portuguese eco. So yeah, I still think my point that in the long run Ajiv and Naheul should be able to win this game. I think Naheul lost his factories, but other than that, that shouldn't be the biggest of deal. Once he gets his economy really going, then he should be fine. And yeah, so I think Zivieria really should have used some of the natives here, because like just if he would have 20 of the cavalry archers, then he wouldn't need any war wagons, and he wouldn't have to fear the Ulans. So I think would really help him. Or even some Cheyenne going raiding would also be decent. Or now here. LongusDongus has good reaction times actually, so he's definitely not a bad player. Does he actually have the card for them? One TC wagon. That's an interesting card. I don't think it's worth it. To be honest, it doesn't increase the build limit of TC, so it's only giving you one more TC, or the TC you're getting it 1 minute earlier, and not much more value you're getting here. So yeah, I think I would prefer it to have at least some unit cards, just if your start is going bad, you can use that. Other than that, his deck looks good, I think. I personally don't like the skirmisher card. I also wouldn't use this card, but it's personal preference, I think. So yeah, so slowly the push starts. I actually think that if Ajiv manages to push here, I don't think he's aware that, he's aware that there's a TC because of this random ball here. So he might be aware that there is some economy here. So if he gets here, that's actually an issue for LongusDongus and Zivieria. I don't know what is Zivieria is. He's dealing with the side bases here. But it really feels like he ran out of steam. So Naheulbeuk really stabilized, so good job of him doing that. I think Ajiv needs more mortars. It's just so many skirmishes. Or at the end he attempt to snipe the Shogun with the Cavalrins. Yeah. So I think he would need some more. Maybe he could also just feed his teammate, so he gets to maximum population. That would also probably be decent. Finally some Hussars arrive. Yeah, some side bases going up, so to help him, that's also good. I think they just could play a bit more aggressive, if you ask me. So especially Ajiv could play a lot more aggressive. I mean, I know LongusDongus has a decent army, but he shouldn't have the economy to back it up, right? From my point of view. Did he get fed by Zivieria? Maybe. Yeah, so also with the consulate card, he would immediately get the Atamata Samurais from the consulate. So yeah, not that it matters much here, I think. I think against Japan, if you just play cannon heavy, so with some Cavalrins, then some mortars and some horse artillery, and you just have something to keep them alive, then there's not much Japan can do against it. So just because their flaming arrows are not a good anti-artillery unit, if you ask me. At least in Deathmatch, because they lack 2 range compared to 3D. And in 3D I think they are pretty bad already, but in Deathmatch they are just really bad. Oh, now Zivieria is getting he told his teammate earlier that he should get walls, and he didn't. So he's just doing it, but he's too late. So the raids continue and do some pretty good damage. I think that's a good raid by Naheul. I think it's still amazing that he's not at 200 population, but still somehow holding on here and also doing a lot of damage here. Maybe it's because he just doesn't have as many villagers as you would expect, so he might still have the same army than 200 population player. So yeah, it's Japan. It's out of coin. Is he actually? Are they actually winning? I feel like they shouldn't win. Yeah, he's getting fed by. Yeah, Zivieria is feeding LongusDongus. This had to happen, of course. Naheul. I feel like he only has 2 TCs, so he lost 1 TC and he didn't rebuild it. That's also hurting him a bit. He's getting raided here. I think he really should have gotten some walls here. Because he lost a lot of villagers here already, I think. Really they are lacking map control. That's a big issue for them. And I also don't think that they are aware that there is a lot of economy here. Otherwise they might have sent some raids there. So yeah, but the game itself just slowed down a bit. I mean the push is still going on here. I think there is not enough artillery to continue this push. I don't think you can push without artillery deathmatch against this many towers. So this just doesn't work. This Ulan probably killed around 15 villagers already, so he paid for himself. Yeah, the game is just slowed down. It's very even, so it's a good game. It's one of the closest games I've casted so far. Of course, nothing is topping the Stowy and Frosty matchups. Those were insane. Sadly, the game crashed, so that's not good. But other than that, these games are pretty good. Yeah, now the raids start here. That's a good decision by Zivieria, realizing that economy is here of Ajiv and just running in instead of trying to break 5 towers. Because really here is not much more economy than here. So that's a good decision. Ajiv I think could also get some towers up here. He could of course get some walls up here. I mean, at this point I'm not even sure if this is Ajiv playing, because Ajiv, when I play against him, he would just have 10,000 walls everywhere. So I don't know what's stopping him from doing that. Yeah. More raids. Oh, maybe now the factory snipes. Oh, the target fire by Zivieria. Why do Warbanks actually do so much damage against? No, there's some skirmishes here. But they die pretty fast. Tops, so that's interesting. But Japan's still putting on a lot of pressure on Ajiv, so I wouldn't have expected that, just to be honest. I still think Japan is not a good civilization. But I mean, okay, he's getting a lot of resources fed, so that's also really helping him. And Ajiv has to help his teammate. So yeah, so it's really not that Ajiv is losing against Japan, but it's that he has to have his teammate, and he also his enemy gets resources fed, so that's why he's on the defensive, so it's kind of expected. Yeah, so now this fort, if this fort goes up, that is very bad news for Naheulbeuk. Because forts are very good in deathmatch. I mean, I wouldn't put in this fort card, so usually I would have the H4 fort card, and the idea behind the H4 fort card is that your explorer can build the 4 or rebuild the 4. So that means you can just place a 4 maybe right here, and any raids will stop. So there's no point in raiding a 4. Oh, the village, huh? He has something in mind. So that's why I like the card. I did the 4 card, so you have the option to just put something in your economy and you will be pretty much raid secure. And it's a good thing in deathmatch because there is a lot of raiding, as seen in this game, and it can be pretty dangerous. Now Ajiv starting to to realize that he's Ajiv and rebuilding the walls. So that's good. Yeah, but it seems like slowly but surely they are losing position. I think losing the factories early for Naheul was actually a big deal. So yeah, and he also really couldn't ever get up his economy or his population to 200. His economy might also be not ideal, so he maybe needs some more on wood, on coin I mean. Yeah, just. But Zivieria is also just a good player, so I'm not blaming him. I'm just realizing what he could do a bit better. So yeah, but Zivieria is also very seasoned with Germans, so he knows what he does. And yeah, so I also wouldn't like to play against the late game Germans if it comes to that, especially if there's a 4 in my base. Yeah, I think this is pretty much looks over. MVP of this game is, I think, Zivieria. He just fed his teammates so many resources. It's actually insane how much resources he sent him, and that also means that Ajiv cannot really help his teammate anymore. And yeah, so losing the factories early also is not something you want. Oh no, finally Ajiv, he realizes the second thing he likes to do. Oh yeah, it's Age of Mythology music. I just have a playlist with all the Age of Empire soundtracks, and they just go through. And I think we are at Age of Mythology now. I'm hoping for some raids or some petards, which just blow up the factories here. But Zivieria also is just sick of getting raided, so he just builds another 5 walls. And yeah. So yeah, I don't see much comeback here, to be honest. It seems like they are slowly losing position. They are in the economy, and it seems like it smells like GG soon. Zivieria just feeding his teammate through, and yeah, I think also part of the issue, if you're playing this defensive, and sacrificing so much map control right from the start, you are pretty much, once you lose position, you are already in your economy. So if you would have gotten his first bases out a bit more forward, then he wouldn't have to fight in his economy all the time. So that's also maybe something to consider. Oh no, finally the raids start. I think if those raids came 5 minutes earlier, then they would have actually been, or could have actually been, a bigger deal. Oh, the petards coming. I think he needs some musketeers here also. So yeah. But even if he kills all the villagers of his teammates are all migrating. So no, I don't see it. I don't see it. I think it was a good game. Very even. I expected, to be honest, like I said earlier, that Naheul and Ajiv that they would be winning in the long run just because Portuguese is better. But I think Naheul just took too much damage at the start, and that gave his teammate a lot of, or that put him in a very bad position. So yeah, they're pissed. They're pissed that they might be Smurfs. So I'm just restarting the game pretty quick. So yeah, so he took a lot of damage at the start, and that means that in the mirror matchup, he was always behind. He never got out his population, his economy. He never really could trade well, and so the other one had a lot of resources over and could just feed his enemy, feed his teammate. I think another option for Zivieria would have been to just use the natives, and that would have also been something which would have sped up the game probably. If he had like the 20 or 30 horse archers, some skirmishers and artillery, then they are not really stoppable, I think, for Naheul. Yeah, so ATC medicine boom. So yeah, but let's get into the next game. So next game will be, let me just check real quick. Next game, I would expect its end as upper. So let's do that. Let me just check really quick if it's really end as upper. I think it should be end as upper, but it was, yeah, I think it's end as upper probably, or it's Orinoco. I don't know. He didn't upload it in order, so I don't know. Let me see. I'm just going with this game here. Okay. And I hope that's the second game. I don't know. Ori, okay. I think I started Orinoco. Yeah, I started Orinoco. So let's do that. Okay, Orinoco is the second game. Thanks for reminding me. This time we have Zivieria on his Chinese, on his British. So that's, I think, one of his. Just go to civilizations, and we have LongusDongus on Chinese. Maybe he just likes the Asian civilization. So that's very interesting to me. So I don't think I've seen a Chinese player on this map or before in this tournament. I think Chinese are decent. So their start is a bit slow, but their late game is good. And in team game you usually get away with a slow start, especially on this map. So I think China is a perfectly viable pick. British also, I just think that they are pretty average. I think I rated Aztec pretty high, but I think also that their economy is really good. So they can power a long time. But I think they get held back by their units. So I wouldn't rate them too high nowadays. I think they are also pretty average. And also French. So I think just average civilizations. But I think they are good on this map. So on this map it's not too important to be very fast. Because you have a long... Oh, that's a bad misclick. You have a long rush distance anyway. So that's not a big point of consideration. And yeah, France and Aztec are just a good late game civilization. I would say that all of these civilizations are good in late game in Deathmatch. One thing I want to see, yeah, British with the livestock boom. I mean that's pretty greedy. First cards, the livestock boom cards. So okay, I think I would still prefer factories, but no, okay, you cannot send factories against those guys, so it makes sense. Oh, he's also staffing them, so that's a good decision. So well played by him. So they can be annoying later on. And now the push starts for Ajiv and Naheulbeuk and his teammate, and they will just start here. Let me just check the China decks. I'm really interested. So China is doing the right thing. Usually with China, what you want to do is you want to get out your full population army and then send the old dynasty reforms. Old dynasty reforms means that your Chukunos, pikemen, and step riders and the Kashyyyks will be a lot stronger, and so they are very, very good in deathmatch. And yeah, so I typically wouldn't use any of the arquebusiers and Jenget AOs and stuff. I would just use those units, and I think he's doing the same, so that's a good call, I think. Other than that, China is also strong because they have the flying crows, and I think they really, especially if you have a British teammate, you really could have gone for the cow boom as well. At least the falling mills and the card for the yaks. So that would have been good, I think. And I think that their economy would have just been probably the best they you could have, or one of the best. Yeah. Also, maybe in hindsight, I think France is a great pick against China. So China doesn't really have a good way to deal with the Shendams, if you ask me. So that's also why he picked France. For my taste, the game is just very slow. I think they could all play just a bit more aggressive. They all would like to get set up, and I just played out in the long game. In the long game, I don't know who I would favor. So I think actually that British and China, if they both go for cow boom, they might have a better economy than France and Aztecs. Usually Aztec eco is really good. I think with Aztec, what you also want to do is you always want to have your Explorer gear. That way, your units will generate triple the amount of the experience, and you are just swimming in shipments. Some raids going on here. Yeah, the walls will go up soon. Just some raids going on here. He's still waiting for his chance, those guys. Is he still aware that they are there? So he's just not sending his factories, so maybe they did their job already by denying him the factories. Yeah. Also with China, one thing I would like to do, let me just see stack again. LongusDongus. So he's just not a fan of the H1 diplomatic intrigue. No, not diplomatic intrigue, the other card. I think it's a very good card for deathmatch, so you can get your consulate armies out very fast, and the discount is also really good because you will get a lot of upgrades. So for China, you will at least get all the Russian ones, and then you also will get all the German ones. So that means the export you save is probably more than this card will ever give you. So yeah, it's just my idea. You would always use it, and then you of course have the faster train time for your consulate stuff, which is also good. So yeah, so now the cannons finally start. The cannon war. So one downside of China is that they have hand mortars. I know that some people say that hand mortars are a good anti-artillery unit, and I mean they are better than flaming arrows. That's true, but they are so clunky to micro, if you ask me. So yeah. So I would prefer Covenants over hand mortars. Yeah, that's my point of view. I'm just a big fan. So some very good artillery micro from Zivieria. Cleaned up all the artillery of Naheulbeuk. And that means his artillery can reign free over everything, which Aztec has. Aztec is also not very good at dealing with artillery. I mean, they have these arrow knights, but they are really also not the best unit. Maybe he also just needs more. I think they were dealing with a raid. I think that raid here actually did a lot of damage, just because Naheulbeuk was going back a lot with his units. Maybe he's just baiting them in, and now with his gendarmes, he should be able to just clean up everything here. So maybe that was a pretty good trap by them. So well played. It's actually a pretty good fight. I'm just letting it play out. So they went back a lot and gave them a lot of space so they would commit, and their lack of anti-cav really means that they just get cleaned up by a huge swarm of cavalry. So Shandams and Coyotes are just good units. Oh, finally those got cleaned up. He's still trying. I think it's a good decision to keep them hidden. Did he see that? Just see if he's... No, he didn't see the factories. I mean, he probably can assume that the factories are here. Just because why would someone ever would put walls here? So that makes sense. And also I think it's just the scouting info. It's also, so once he gets in with some of these guys, then he knows where to go, so that's also good. I think it's just a good play from him from the start to keep them hidden. And yeah. Now, let me just quickly check the economy. So Ajiv of course is at 99 villagers. His economy is just rolling. So Aztecs has the most food cards, and he also sent a lot of them already. And so his economy is just insane. At this point. Zivieria also at 99 villagers, that's to be expected with British. You have the estate boom and you can do that. China is a bit slower, so it's also expected that they are not fully at the 99 villagers yet. And I think same for French. So Aztec and British just have a very good boom. The Aztec boom is also powered by the community plazas, so the TCs will produce their villages faster. And yeah, so maybe they will be able to actually push this now. I think Ajiv just has the economy of Aztec is just so insane. He can spam a lot of stuff. I don't think he sent this card yet, so he would rather just chop trees and let his units cost wood. That's interesting. I usually send this card early, to be honest. So that's an interesting decision. But by doing it this way, you exhaust all your wood and your coin you have for your knight units, so it also makes sense to do it this way. Yeah, so all things considered, good play. Also we see the Explorer now at you see the Explorer now at the front, and this means that he's getting triple XP. And so, for example, if he's killing a Hussar, he just gets 6 CP, and that's significant. So with Aztecs, usually you will get your cards out a lot earlier than all other civilizations. And maybe they will bait them in again, and just produce a lot of stuff. They have so many resources. I think they could play a bit more aggressive, at least, or maybe Ajiv could feed his teammate again. That could also be something. So yeah, but there will be a big fight, and I have a feeling that it will be a cleanup again. So they just don't have a lot of anti-cav. I mean, they have towers to fall back to, but is it really enough? I think the cannons are just too slow, so they will always die. Also, moving forward now is just not. I think it's probably the worst time to move forward. Which we could have. Yeah, so I think this trade is just going very well. So they get again cleaned up by a lot of cavalry. I think they should have learned from the last time. I think some musketeers would have just really helped them as a team. Because Yeah, the skirmishers are just not giving them much, I think. So they had, so British had a lot of skirmishers and China had a lot of skirmishers, and really, what is the purpose of them? So they are not doing a lot of DPS against the melee cavalry. They're not helping against the artillery. They have their own artillery to deal with the few slingers and few skirmishers which they have. So I think it would have been a better choice to have more anti-cav and a less skirm heavy composition, in my opinion. Or also to just have more cav. So for example like Hussars, and just keep them. So but this is still a great fight. So I think now they probably could go on the other side. I also think that at some point they could have gotten up something here and here maybe. But I really just want to break through at the front here. Yeah, and I mean they got a decent fight, but now that's the point of Orinoco basically. So this river means it's so hard to cross, and so even if you get a good fight, you will fight under the enemy barracks and stuff, and especially under the enemy towers, and so you don't get something good. Why are so many people building French halberdiers? Is there something with French halberdiers which I don't get? So they are just the most average or most below average halberdier there is. Is just halberdier a good unit now, or why is everyone making those? I don't understand. I don't understand. Yeah, now because there are some musketeers in, the cav. I mean the cav is still deadly, but it's not as deadly anymore. So that really helps. And they are really learning from their mistakes now. They're mixing in some dragoons and some pikemen and some musketeers. Yeah, so that's a good decision. Also mixing in some hussars is also good. Hussars, British hussars, I think do pretty decent against the coyotes. And that's just a good meat shield. And also they don't really have muskets of their own or anti-cav, so they will be pretty valuable. So I think now if he would have had, instead of this card and this card, the two livestock cards, then his economy would be way better. I also don't understand what's the point of 4 flamethrowers. This is such a random card. Like flamethrowers is just the worst unit you can ever get. And why do people get it? I don't know. I don't understand. So I would do, sometimes I would do flamethrowers with China. So what happens for me often is that I would run out of food and I would still have like 7k wood and coin. And so if I'm in a lot of trouble, I would just make 10 flamethrowers and they would do something. But it's not a unit I like to build, and it's not a unit which I would put in my deck. So his deck, I think his deck has a lot of improvement potential, if you ask me. Also this card is also not really good, if you ask me. The Confucius gift. I think in Chile it's a good card, but in Deathmatch your cards will arrive so fast anyway that having them 5 seconds earlier just is not doing much, and I would rather have another coin card or something in my deck. And I'm also not the biggest fan of the siege cards. So for European civilizations, siege HP is very important. But for Asians, I think they get one-shot by caverns all the time anyway, right? So it's not too significant. Oh, by the way, the push. They're actually starting to push on the other side. but they run into the same problem as Ajiv and Naheulbeuk, that once they are here, the supply line is just shorter, so they just get cleaned up by the reinforcements, especially the cap. And yeah, Aztec is just never running out of resources, right? I think at this point with 40 villagers on wood, these cards would have been very good. I think especially this card, because French is... Oh, no, okay, he's not getting any wood, so... Let's see... Team Medicine... I think you're putting this card mainly in your deck for your teammate. And for Aztec I don't think it will do much. Yeah. Other than that, I think it's a decent deck. So sometimes I would put in the Jaguars, just so my Explorer can make Jaguars, and they are just 12 units, which tank and also do damage. They will be decent against cavalry, for example. And you have so much food anyway that you can just make them all the time. So that's why I'm not 100% sure if that's the best decision. But I like to do it. Stone Masons. I think it's you need it at the start, right? So yeah. Not much of I would discuss here. So just still the Orinoco onslaught continues. Still now again a lot of skirmishers on both sides. A bit more anti-cav, so that means that there also are not too many cav charges anymore, I think. I mean, I said it, and there are just gendarmes running here. Again, as I said, I think China cannot do too much against French gendarmes, so it makes sense to mix them in a lot. Yeah, I also think that Naheulbeuk maybe it would be good if he would make mortars for 2 people, because the Aztec anti-building. So usually in GT they have the option to make howitzers, and then they can make their mortars themselves. But you don't have the option in Deathmatch. So and usually he would have maybe two in his army to just deal with the buildings. But because he cannot do it, maybe it would make sense for France to build some more mortars. Maybe. Yeah, LongusDongus is running out of resources, so I think they are just winning the long game. So I think really if he would have the cattle and livestock cards, that would have helped him so much. And the team engineering school, I think you can justify to put it in, but then you would use your factories for artillery. So with China you can do that. Does he have his factory? I don't think he ever... Oh no, he got his factory. So with China you can also use a factory for heavy cannons. And I think I usually do that in Deathmatch just because heavy cannons are really good. At least until I send all my other cards and I have enough cards to just send flying crowd. Then the engineering school makes sense. Also rockets. With Britain you can also justify to produce them. They give a lot of value. So that can also be decent. And yeah. But again, the push slowed down again. I don't... So Naheul ran out of resources. So I think Ajiv really... Ajiv at this point should just send Naheul a lot of food. Just 10k. And just feed him a bit more. This way he can keep up his population easier. And yeah, so I mean in an ideal world with perfect communication and perfect insight, that's something you always want to do. Because they like, yeah, now he does. Did he send something? I think he sent something, right? Yeah, I think he gifted him something. Yeah. So he immediately listens to me. Read my mind. And what you also could do. So I think the 1000 coin is good. I think I also use 1000 coin. So he probably never needs to get any estates, right? He can just send this card all the time. But eventually he will run out of wood, and then he needs this card. So Ajiv really has the long game in mind, so that's really big brain play if you ask me. Still continuing with his coyotes. Yeah. Some Keshiks also now in the army. Keshiks with the card are decent, I think. Is Zivieria actually feeding him again? I think I remind me to check the post game after that. That if he's getting fed again. So I think that might be something which is happening. Yeah. So is there anything else I can actually talk about? Because I think Orinoco is just really, it's like this for how long until someone runs out of resources, or if until someone sneaks. Oh, Ajiv now finally starting the sneak. So there really is not much to talk about from a casting point of view. I mean, again, the cavalry arrives and probably cleans up a lot of stuff. We have here the artillery micro. The skirmishes just take some very bad hits. But all things considered, I still think it's a decent trade for Ajiv and Naheulbeuk. So, not too bad. Now the caverns clean up the artillery here. Again, they fall back to the towers. So, the towers, if you haven't noticed, the towers do extra damage against Cav. So they are pretty threatening to all sorts of Cav. Oh, some great shots by Naheulbeuk, cleaning up those guys, those hand modders. So all in all, like they again they will push them back here, and then the longer supply routes start, and they can remake the units, the counter units, to counter the units which are left, and they need longer to get into position again. So eventually they will get cleaned up, so they have to fall back again here. So this is what's probably going to happen. And yeah, let's just see if this plays out. So for unit composition, actually, France really is only doing gendarme and skirmishers. Keep in mind they are not veteran, they are guard. It's just an UI. That UI. Oh, 2 cannons arrive. Did he actually send them? Yes. So maybe they are not getting pushed back, but because they're getting some very good trades here. So they cleaned up all the artillery, almost all. Okay, here's some more flying crows. And still, this deck by LongusDongus is just so bad. With a better deck, he would. Also, like you would have this card over advanced fortifications. Yeah. No, I just don't think it's a good deck. So now the sneak starts. How did he actually get here? Is there a gap in the wall? Can I actually see it? Oh my god. This is... How does that happen? Like, does he know that there is that he doesn't see here? Because he. That's actually insane. I mean, getting him up here and not getting spotted. It's probably random, but it's also pretty unlikely. Oh, now that's what happens when you delete pillars. So he's just walking here, and he's just building more stuff. So this actually might be the game-winning move. But I'm also saying that, and Chinese just runs out of resources. Really? Yeah. But they're getting pushed back now, so they don't have enough anti-cav. So now our cav, some cav starts. Oh, some halberdiers. I don't think this time the halberdiers are mispicked, so they make sense now. I think also it would make sense to add some Puma spearmen, at least like 5 or 10 to deal with them. That would have also been something. In the long run, of course, you want the Eagle Run Knights. They are just one of the best anti-cav units in the entire game. So just having like 10 or 20 in your army means you are in a good position. I think now they realize their problem. It's actually doing something. Ajiv, are you saving your villager? Save your villager? Oh my god. Now he's doing all the big buttons. That's also very well played. Ajiv, you're really a good player. Also, I think the natives just come way too late for both sides. I think Ajiv should have added in natives 15 minutes ago, if you ask me. Especially those Mayans. Those are very strong. And also those Caribs. So Caribs, you can get a lot of Caribs. So they have an upgrade where your Explorer can train Caribs, and that means with one trading post of Caribs, you are. So even if you give your teammate these, so you can just have as a team, I think like 40 of those Carib skirmisher type units. So you don't really need any more skirmishers, and they are also pretty strong. They have an extra upgrade. So I think that's something to do, and that would help them a lot. And if you're having less skirmishers, that also means that you do have more space for cannons or more space for cav or for goons. And yeah, oh, now the halberdiers run in. So never getting a wall here is pretty sloppy if you ask me, and they really feel the pain now. Yeah, again it shows like even though this sneak or this raid, it looked like here on this side that it didn't achieve much. What it does, it forced a lot of units to go here. So I think that's actually a pretty game-winning move here. And it also means that he could run in here with his units. They could take this position. They should be able to get position on this side now, and that means that all the pain of Orinoco. So this one river fight where you cannot build stuff is just dealt with. So that's great. And yeah, so just a very good move. Are those rangers actually worth it? Are they actually better than longbows? They should be, right? Some more raids going on here. I think the Chinese British team is slowly collapsing here. And yeah, I think they're collapsing. Ajiv still has. I think he at no point he ever went under 20k food in the last 20 minutes. Yeah, I think a pretty. So not using natives in both games, I think it's actually, it's just so sloppy, if you ask me. So that would make the games a lot more decisive. Yeah, especially the Maya ones. Maya ones are really good, and the Caribs also are really good. Did he get a factory snipe? Nope. Yeah, Zivieria really devolves. Oh, now the raids here. What kind of wall is this? Did he want to trick Ajiv here? It's again some 300 IQ play. There's a lot of very interesting strategic decisions being done here. I don't understand this wall at all, so it's probably just to fool him out. Zivieria. Yeah, he lost a lot of villages actually. So he's in a pickle, so. Yeah, the T export. So 0.4 export trickle. It's just not a lot, I think. That is 240 per minute. And no, it's 24 per minute, right? Yeah, it's 24 per minute. So you get... Nah, it's not worth it. Right, you get in one game 400 more export or something. I don't think it's worth it. It's probably worse than the 300 export card. And the 300 export card is a very bad card to begin with. So, nah, I would use this. Yeah, some fights going on here, and they really start to push here, so they are going forward. I think their economy is just in a really good spot. With this much resources, could make so many natives. Could raid. Could keep the front up here. Yeah. Also, what's something you could actually do if you have this amount of villager or this amount of resources, you could also villager delete. I think Ajiv has the right call to not do that. I think it's better in deathmatch to feed your teammate if you have excess resources. So yeah, so I think that's the right call. It's just it just would be a possibility, and if you really want to finish a game, you can probably do that. Yeah. Finally, they got rid of this here. Yeah, I just think it's too late. I don't see them coming back here. So they got position here. They should probably get rid of these bases, because eventually, if they're not careful, they could just pop out some mortars and just delete these few bases here, and then they would be back to the drawing board. So that's a good decision here. That's also a bad point for your flying cross to spawn, by the way. So you really want them here, obviously. And now the spearmen, for these scenarios, spearmen are good, I think. What do they actually cost? They are actually pretty cheap. They used to be more expensive, right? They used to cost 50-50. Okay, interesting. Yeah, but for most cases in late game you would rather have the Jaguar Pro Knights, so they are just a better version of the Spearmen, I think. You can stealth, they do damage against all sorts of units, also against musketeers or against melee infantry. So in late game you really prefer to have the Jaguars. So that makes sense. The only good thing about this Kuma Spearman is that you can instant produce them sometimes, or almost instant, and that the train time of the Jaguars is a bit longer. So that's really the only reason why you would get the Puma. So yeah, I sometimes get Pumas, but just by looking at it, I think I should not do that anymore. So they do a lot more damage against Cav. So 60 against that. Yeah, I mean they do 50% more damage against Cav. But they do have a lot less HP. So I think they're a bit faster, right? Yeah, so they're a bit faster. So maybe that's something they have. So yeah, so finally the game's over. They just finished their push. Aztec, maybe I rated them high, so the economy is just insane. And this game really proves that. So yeah, unspent resources. Ajiv did try boot, only 8k. I think he could have sent a lot more resources, but of course that expected. Okay, the combat XP, usually you can tell how well someone fight by the combat XP, but in this case the Aztec get extra experience because of their explorer, so it's not really telling. Yeah, just the resource curve. Yeah, actually the livestock boom is also really good. So I didn't expect the livestock boom to keep up this well with the Aztecs. But Aztec boom just requires less micro, so eventually he will outproduce. I think China with if he also livestock booms, he should be slightly ahead of France. But yeah, the economy is just insane. It's just 80k more resources for Aztec in the end. So yeah, well played. GG, well played. Let me just get into the next game. Oh man, I hope this is not as long. So I mean, those are very, I think from the skill level, they are pretty much the highest I've seen. I think Frosty and Matthew against Story and Thief also was really high level. So they were a lot more aggressive and decisive at the start. I think the late game and artillery micro and stuff is better for the 3D guys, but for the early games it's better for the deathmatch guys, so the build orders and stuff. Yeah, so I think those are very high level games, so I'm glad I can cast them. But I think I will only cast this last game and then I'm calling it for today. I thought that some games would have been a bit over a bit earlier. So yeah, it's just I cannot do like 3-hour casts. My voice just doesn't do it. So I think this is the last game open. So let's go. So the last game will be on Andes Upper. I think this is a map where the 3D guys are just very familiar with. It is just I think it's the only 3D map which is being played. So it feels like. Yeah. So we have Dutch and Spain for Zivieria's LongusDongus team, and Ottoman and Russia for Naheulbeuk and for Ajiv. The vaults starting early, so these are some very early vaults. Okay. Ottoman, so it seems like he would go for the Janissaries and for the forward construction. Yeah. So, like I said, I think in other games, I say that these early alts are usually not... Like, if you only invest one villager, it's okay, I think. But you really need to get out units early. And, yeah, so... Also, this time, Zivieria and LongusDongus, they will go for a rush. So, a Heik rush against Ottoman is actually something which... So Ottoman at the start is not the fastest, they are not really slow, but they are also not very fast. So that's something which can work out pretty well. And also it's just a change of strategy. So it's also good to mix it up, because they never really played this aggressive. Yeah, I think Russia though is able to help a teammate very early if he needs to. So just by putting down a fort or something, you can help your teammate out very fast. So this can go either way, in my opinion. So Ottoman actually is, once they get out their units, they should be able to defend it very well. But they are doubling the Ottoman, and they already have mortars. I think they have LongusDongus. Send 2 team mortars. Yeah, that's very aggressive. And that's actually a very fast rush. So yeah, so Ajiv needs to get out something in the back, some bases. He also, I don't know if he sent the... let me just do some other music again. Not into H2 music right now. And I don't think... No, he didn't... Or he sent the battlefield construction. Sorry. So I think he immediately should get out more barracks here, because he is running out of production. This push looks really scary with so many cannons, so many units, and very hard to deal with. Naheulbeuk though, you cannot really count him out, because he also has stuff in Duchy space. I don't think it's a good decision to siege the banks. I would rather siege the houses, because if you siege down the houses, he cannot build any units anymore, and the damage you do on the banks is not really that significant. I think he's realizing that. I think priority should always be villagers, and after that, like houses and stuff and production, at the start at least. Yeah, but they completely sacrificed this position here. Ajiv didn't send any factories, so that's a very scary push. So that is some good strategy from them. Just doubling on one side, with that many cannons is just very hard to deal with. And now the only thing they really need to do is deal with Russia in their base, which is easier said than done, because he's also just losing his base. Actually, this is a very space trade. It has written base trade all over it, so it's very interesting. So I don't think I've seen a game like this before. And they didn't really clean up everything here. So I think the Spain player should get out some pikemen and destroy these houses here. I'm just continue to look at the stuff here. So that's actually the important thing which is happening. I think they only need to stabilize, so they really should get out more blockhouses here. And maybe another 4. And yeah, especially Ajiv should get out more barracks here in the back. I mean, yeah, he's very low on resources actually. I mean, they are all pretty low on resources already. Zivieria can't build anything anymore because he doesn't have any houses anymore. Didn't he see? Yeah, but this army still is not dealt with, really. I mean, Ajiv is rebuilding everywhere a bit. So that's good. Also keep in mind with Ottoman, you really can spend everything into military. Just because you usually just send the covered wagons and then the economy is growing automatically. He even has the 2 and 1, so he has 6 town centers. And the villagers don't cost anything, so that is very good for them. But yeah, they are just losing too much ground here. So the push, the double push, Ajiv was never able to get out a big army. So that's no, I'm not criticizing here, I'm just saying what happened. And if you're not getting out your army, you are typically just fighting bad. So because you have only 100 units against the 200 or 400 units of the enemies. So it just makes things even worse for you. So it's a snowball kind of thing which is happening. And it doesn't seem like they can get... I think Russia is also not in a big pickle. Yeah. Yeah, it's just the issue that they never got their army together. That is just the core issue for Naheulbeuk and Ajiv, and it's mainly because of the good strategy of the others by just grouping up together. So by Zivieria and Longus, by grouping up together early, doing a very aggressive build order and attacking immediately. So Ottoman is a bit slower, especially if you are not starting with Cav, than other civilizations, and they really capitalized on that. So they never really got out their bases and stuff, and they're always on the back foot. And yeah, I think Ottoman actually, if he sent the church card earlier, that really would have helped him, because those 3 bombards, if you would have them here at the start, that means they can deal with the archaic rush just immediately. So they have to be a lot more defensive with their infantry against the cannons. Yeah, I mean the Dutch player is completely wiped from his initial base. But he got up his base here and he's slowly building up his stuff. Does this work? No. Yeah, and yeah, the issue is they're just not getting their army together, and they're under so much pressure that they're just have to take bad trades, and yeah, just good strategy, just well played overall. So good, good strategy, good execution, very deadly. I think they might have practiced this actually, because it's also their map pick. And I think they also got a bit lucky that Spain spawned on the other side of Ottoman, because Ottoman is a bit slower than Russia. It's a lot harder to rush a Russian player. So yeah. Yeah, so really I think the momentum, so they never got their foot in the game really, and they just got overwhelmed. So just a good strategy overall. Edge is still pissed that he's playing against the Smurf. But to be honest, like, who would Smurf here? So the only one, or there are not many players who are better than Zivieria, for example. I think, and it's obviously not Floco, because Floco has a different playstyle. And so I don't know who he would be. So, and the only thing that's important is that he's not playing in 2 teams, which I think he doesn't. Yeah. So maybe he's just a good player, I don't know. Yeah. So we can see the issue here. So Ajiv. So this is the issue here. So here they got their units out and attack around here, and it's 139 units against 88. Military unit population, not units. So unit. So yeah. So Spain against Ottoman alone has 50% more units, and Zivieria also immediately helped his teammate. And at this point, for example, so Naheul was deleting Duchess base, and at this point there were like 300 units fighting, or population, 300 against 200, and this is, you're just never going to trade well, and so this is what happened in this game, I think. Yeah, well played. I think this is also Salt Chip. I call him Salt Chip. Yeah, that's a good name. So I think that's the end for me. So it's almost 2 hours already of casting, or 1.5 hours. So it was a very good series. I will also upload it soon. This time I don't have to cut anything. So I think Ajiv and Naheulbeuk still have the chance, or still the contenders to go to the final through the lower bracket. So there might be a rematch, or they just get knocked out by another team, the LongusDongus and Zivieria. But they look pretty good. I think there's the only issue I have with them is that LongusDongus is playing Japan, and Japan is a bad civilization if you want to win a tournament. And that the build orders are not 100% ideal. I think they are like 80-90% ideal. 80 to 90%. So they are good enough to not die, but they could be a bit better. But other than that, they look pretty hot, if you ask me. Same thing really for Naheul and Ajiv. I think on a better day they just win Great Plains. And yeah, so that's enough for me. Thanks for tuning in, and see you guys around. Bye bye.